Hello dessert fans, it's Anna Olson here. I'm so glad you've joined me today because El Gourmet fans from Argentina voted on the recipe I am making right now. Can you guess what it is? Well, I'll tell you, it's Torta Balcarce. Oh, and I am so looking forward to this. It's an elegant combination of sponge cake layered with whipped cream, meringue, dulce de leche, of course, and walnuts. So let me jump right into it by making this beautiful sponge cake. Now, it really helps to have warm eggs. That way I know they'll whip to the fullest volume. I'll crack those into the bowl. Now I'll add my sugar. In order for the sponge cake to be flexible and tender, adding a little liquid sugar, in this case honey, really helps. All right, now I'll whip this up on high speed until it's really frothy and foamy and holds a ribbon. Now that could take up to 5 minutes. Make sure you do it on high speed. Look at that volume. Unbelievable. This is a great sponge cake recipe. Now I'll sift my flour, and with the mixer on low speed, I'll add that in. And that only takes a second. And now I'll spread it onto my parchment-lined baking tray. I've preheated my oven to 190 Celsius, and the great thing about this sponge cake recipe, it only takes about 10 to 12 minutes to bake. Oh, look at how puffed up and deep golden brown this sponge cake is. Now, this is a tip I picked up. By sprinkling some coconut on top of the warm cake, it sticks on, it adds flavor, but sometimes a sponge cake can have a stickiness on its top surface. Well, the coconut takes that away, makes it easy to handle. Now it's time for the sponge cake to cool, but let me tell you about the meringue layer that is a part of Torta Balcarce. A meringue's easy to make, you can also buy it. So what I did was whip 2 egg whites at room temperature. I added a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. Once they were foamy, I slowly poured in 100 grams of sugar as I was whipping on high speed. Then all I did was put the meringue into a piping bag with a star tip and pipe little rosettes. It takes 1.5 to 2 hours to bake in a 100°C oven. After that, you let them cool and you've got these nice, crispy light meringues. Now that everything has cooled, it's time to assemble this torte. First thing I'll do is cut the sponge cake into 4 strips, because I'm actually molding the cake in a loaf pan. Now let's talk about the different elements involved. When I think desserts in Argentina, I think dulce de leche. So I was so happy to find that this typical recipe, of course, has 2 layers of dulce de leche in it. Now a sprinkling of toasted walnut pieces. Time for more sponge cake. And some whipped cream. I've whipped it up, added just a touch of icing sugar, and then my secret is a little instant skim milk powder. In doing my homework, outside of learning the fact that it's named after a city near the seaside in Argentina, in the province of Buenos Aires, and it was invented in a bakery, but now you can find it all over Argentina, that got me excited. I also got excited by the fact that it's 10 layers between the sponge, the dulce de leche, the walnuts, the cream, the meringue. That adds up to 10 layers. I've seen photos where Torta Balcarce is round, and I've seen photos where it's in a rectangular shape. How do you buy your Balcarce or make it? And now for the last layer of sponge cake. Now my torta needs time to chill. Best, if you can, let it chill in the fridge overnight. It looks pretty nice even without the whipped cream on the outside. Now, if you whipped your whipped cream ahead of time, you might need to give it a little whisk just to bring its volume back. And then I like to dollop it on top, then spread it on the sides. Takes a little practice to get the corners right. Don't worry so much about the whipped cream on the sides. You want it to cover, but it doesn't have to be perfect, because the next step is to gently press some coconut onto the sides of the cake, all 4 sides. I saved a little whipped cream and I have that in a piping bag with a star tip, so I'll pipe some decor. Little sprinkle of the remaining walnuts, and then some of those meringue rosettes. You know, I've seen quite a few photos of Torta Balcarce that has sort of a burnt emblem on top of it. I've gone for something different here. There's so many different looks to it, and I really would love to hear what your favorite style of Torta Balcarce is. But now it's time for a slice. I like using a serrated knife with sponge cakes so that it doesn't tear the cake as you're cutting through. Oh, look at all those layers. And you know what I love? That crispy meringue in the center of the cake softens up just nicely. And that combination of dulce de leche, cream, walnuts, and that soft sponge. Now, to me, it's obvious. I have to add Balcarce to my list of cities to visit the next time I come to Argentina. Thank you for sharing this delicious dessert with me. It has become a new favorite.